So what actually happens when an entire nation decides to import all of its intelligence? It's a deeply provocative question, and honestly, it sits right at the center of our modern technological era. Think back to the early space race for a second. Emerging nations were constantly told that the climb was just way too steep, right? The engineering was too complex, the capital required was too vast. They were told to essentially buy their way into the space age by hitching a ride on someone else's rocket. But the most ambitious forward-thinking nations, they didn't just want to buy a satellite, they fundamentally understood that they needed to build their own launch pad. While today we're facing an entirely new frontier. We aren't looking at physical space, we're looking at the silicon architecture and neural weightings that are undeniably going to power the future of global civilization. So in this explainer, we're going to dive really deep into the geopolitical, economic, and technological stakes of this global AI race. Specifically, we'll look at what it means when a country of over 1 billion people decide it is no longer going to outsource its artificial intelligence to foreign tech hubs, but instead engineer its own sovereign future right from the ground up.
Okay, let's jump right into this. Sarvam AI just recently hosted their massive Epoch 2026 event in Bengaluru, and the announcements were, frankly, nothing short of a paradigm shift for the global tech landscape. Fresh off securing a massive Series B funding round at a highly publicized $1.5 billion valuation, Sarvam used this two-day event, which was actually split into a builder edition for developers and an enterprise edition for industry leaders, to signal a massive structural transition. They are unequivocally no longer just an Indian language model company focused on translation. No, they are stepping directly onto the global stage as a full-stack, foundational AI platform player. We're talking direct competition across heavy infrastructure, frontier foundation models, enterprise-grade agents, and granular developer tools. Dr. S. Somanath, the widely respected former chairman of the Indian Space Research Organization, was there, and he actually described this as India's next great moonshot. It's a mission fundamentally designed for national capability, because building an indigenous foundation model requires the exact same national resolve as building an indigenous rocket program.
At the very heart of this massive ambition is an uncompromising philosophy, perfectly summarized by Sarvam co-founder Pradyush Kumar. Standing right there on stage, he said it plainly: sovereignty should not be a tax. And this is such a powerful and necessary framing right now. For a long time across the developing world, there's been this subtle, kind of pervasive assumption that if you use a homegrown domestic tech alternative, it's probably going to be slightly inferior to the global standard. Like, it's a technological compromise you just have to accept for the sake of national pride. But Kumar explicitly and forcefully rejected that idea. He insisted that Indian AI has to be aggressively globally competitive. It has to benchmark against the absolute best models in the world. He pointed straight to China's domestic tech ecosystem as historical evidence that you absolutely can build world-class sovereign capabilities that serve local nuances while still fiercely competing globally. Basically, choosing a sovereign model shouldn't be a tax on performance. It should be a distinct strategic advantage.
Which brings us to a concept that brilliantly illustrates the core vulnerability Sarvam is trying to solve: the data tax. Right now, if India just acts as a passive importer of AI tokens from massive global tech conglomerates out in San Francisco, the nation pays a huge, deeply problematic twofold price. First, there's the literal financial capital flight, paying standard API billing based on foreign token usage, completely at the mercy of currency exchange rates. But the second cost? It's way more insidious in the long run. They are paying in raw data. Every single time an Indian developer, a massive enterprise, or a local citizen interacts with a foreign frontier model, their unique linguistic patterns, cultural nuances, and proprietary business workflows get instantly exported to train models they don't own or control. It creates this dangerous self-perpetuating feedback loop. Global models get exponentially smarter about the local Indian market, while domestic AI capabilities just stall out. It becomes an unchecked data monopoly.
This leads directly into Sarvam's grand strategy: creating a fully operational token factory right in India. See, importing tokens treats intelligence like a disposable utility you rent every month. And when you rent intelligence, you are completely dependent on foreign pricing, foreign server availability, and foreign data privacy standards that might not align at all with your local regulations. But a domestic token factory? That flips the script. It means you actually own the underlying means of production. We're living in an increasingly deglobalizing world where access to frontier models or advanced chips could theoretically be restricted by shifting trade policies overnight. In that reality, producing the AI tokens you consume locally isn't just about economic efficiency. It becomes a critical, non-negotiable national security asset. By manufacturing tokens domestically, you aren't just renting time on the rocket. You own the whole launch pad.
And the scale of their ambition? It is absolutely staggering. 1 trillion plus parameters.
At the event, Sarva boldly announced they're building a frontier-scale foundation model entirely from scratch, and they're aiming to have it fully trained and ready for deployment within an incredibly tight window of just 6 months. That is a massive 10x scale increase from their current generation of models. It's a strategic necessity to bridge the gap in deep reasoning, logic, and complex agentic capabilities where global frontier models currently have the lead. They are going right after complex, high-stakes enterprise workloads. Think advanced software coding, real-time cybersecurity threat analysis, and complex scientific simulations. And to pull this off, they aren't just relying on local talent. They've strategically opened a foundational AI research lab right in San Francisco. It acts as this crucial talent conduit, intentionally reversing the historical brain drain by bringing elite Indian-origin researchers like Devendra Singh Choplat, who actually helped build Mistral AI, back into the fold for this domestic sovereign mission.
Of course, raw intelligence requires heavy iron. You literally cannot train a trillion-parameter model without world-class dedicated compute infrastructure. This aggressive timeline really shows the hardware engine powering their Moonshot. Today, Sarvam has secured access to roughly 2,000 state-of-the-art NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs. But their roadmap? They're scaling that cluster up to a staggering 10,000 Blackwell GPUs. And honestly, more important than the sheer number is where they are located. This compute is hosted firmly within domestic borders. Through a huge strategic partnership with HCL Tech and the state of Odisha, Sarvam is actively building sovereign, air-gapped data centers. That term air-gapped is so critical here. It means the systems can be physically and network isolated from the public global internet. For highly sensitive sectors like national defense, intelligence agencies, and core banking, this guarantees their classified, proprietary data never ever leaves the national border. And this sovereign infrastructure ultimately translates into a radical economic advantage for the end user. Just look at the numbers for their current flagship mixture of experts model, Sarvam 105B. Because they avoid the massive premiums foreign cloud providers charge, they control the whole stack. So they can offer this enterprise model at an astonishingly low 80 cents per 1 million blended tokens. Compare that to $4.50 for GPT 5.4 Mini, or $9 for Gemini 3.5 Flash. We are talking about a massive 5.5x to 11x cost advantage. Cost at this scale is an explosive competitive moat. In the AI economy, when you can slash the baseline cost of intelligence by a full order of magnitude, it's the difference between a multinational company running a tiny pilot experiment and confidently deploying generating AI at a massive population scale across their entire global operation.
But Sarvam knows the future isn't just passive models. It's about advanced, autonomous agents. At the event, they unveiled Sarvam Code. It's a highly specialized AI coding agent designed to solve one of the most frustrating weaknesses in current open-source models, knowing when a multi-step software task is actually finished without spiraling into hallucinations. They fix this with a really brilliant three-agent architecture. First, a planner agent breaks down the complex software request into smaller, logical steps. Second, a worker agent actually sits down and writes the code block by block. Finally, an independent verifier agent rigorously checks the output for syntax errors and logic flaws, ensuring the task is genuinely complete before finalizing it. It perfectly mirrors how human engineering teams actually work, creating a continuous feedback loop that catches subtle bugs before they ever reach production. The economics of Sarvam code are just as disruptive as its architecture. Using the rigorous Terminal Bench 2.1 evaluation standard, they showed that for every complex coding task successfully solved, Sarvam code costs an enterprise about $2. Compare that to Claude Code at $4.10, or legacy tools like Codex way up at $27.80 per task. But the absolute game changer is how they bill for this. It's a revolutionary pay-for-completed work model. The inevitable retries, the AI hallucinations, the dead ends? The customer simply isn't built for those. You only pay when the agent successfully solves your problem. For India's massive IT services industry, companies like TCS and Infosys employing millions of engineers who currently license expensive foreign tools, this combo of lower base cost, guaranteed task completion, and strict data residency is a massive commercial differentiator.
All of these highly capable tools ultimately converge into a massive, unified ecosystem they call the Indus platform. Over the last year, Indus evolved from a simple text chatbot into a broad, highly capable agentic platform. And what makes it so sticky for large businesses is the unified credit system. If a major enterprise buys a block of Indus credits for their back-end developers to use Sarvam code, they can seamlessly pivot and use those exact same credits to deploy intelligent voice agents for customer support or autonomous work agents for back-office data entry. It entirely removes procurement friction and creates deep, natural platform lock-in, Plus, Indus is built specifically for the Indian context. It inherently understands the complexities of code mixing, like English, diverse regional slang, and subtle cultural nuances that Western models frequently struggle to retrofit.
Speaking of the Indian context, we have to talk about their updated speech AI stack, which is arguably more critical for India's digital future than any other major market. Why? Because the next billion internet users largely prefer speaking directly to their devices over typing on a keyboard. Addressing this, Sarvam announced Sarvam V4, a profoundly advanced speech recognition model covering over 22 distinct Indic languages. In fast mode, it boasts a blistering sub-150 millisecond time to first token response rate. And paired with this is Bulbul V4, a text-to-speech engine that is a massive leap forward. Instead of that flat, robotic output we're used to, Bulbul V4 is remarkably emotionally expressive. It can laugh, it dynamically emphasizes important words, and it delivers incredibly natural vocal ranges. This totally transforms customer-facing apps, making interactions feel genuinely human and empathetic, rather than rigidly automated. And this isn't just some beta test happening in a lab. 325 million. That is the staggering, verified number of voice calling minutes Sarvam has already successfully processed using their deployed speech models. This is massive, real-world, production-grade scale at the highest level of enterprise demand. When you step back and combine that lightning-fast speech recognition, the emotionally expressive text-to-speech, and that massive 11x cost advantage we talked about, the math fundamentally changes. It suddenly becomes highly economically viable for massive Indian telecom providers and rural banks to offer 24/7, highly articulate, fully multilingual customer support to hundreds of millions of citizens for an absolute fraction of legacy human operational costs. But true digital intelligence isn't just about code and voice, right? It's about seeing and parsing the messy physical world. Expanding their capabilities, Sarvam launched Vision 2.0 and Vision Edge, specifically tackling a really stubborn enterprise challenge in the developing world: complex document intelligence. Government organizations and enterprises in India are practically drowning in complex, multilingual, poorly handwritten physical documents that legacy OCR software just cannot read reliably. Vision 2.0 is painstakingly trained to extract messy tables and cursive handwritten Indic text. Even more impressive, the Vision Edge variant runs this heavy computer vision intelligence entirely offline, directly on device. Right now, the state government of Odisha is actively using this in rural fields to digitize heavily degraded land ownership records instantly, without a single byte of sensitive citizen data ever touching a vulnerable cloud server. The real-world enterprise validation for all of this is already deeply entrenched in the heavily regulated banking, financial services, and insurance sector. During the event, Sarvam proudly highlighted that an incredible 300,000 individual salespeople at SBI Life are currently being actively empowered by Sarvam's AI agents out in the field. Think about that. Insurance sales is an incredibly demanding profession. It requires navigating complex product knowledge, strict regulatory compliance, and nuanced multilingual communication on a daily basis. The fact that a major, highly regulated financial institution completely trusts Sarvam's AI stack to seamlessly support 300,000 agents in the field, that fundamentally proves the sovereign architecture delivers the strict data residency, security, and raw computational performance that heavily regulated industries demand. Now, Sarvam is taking all this invisible back-end infrastructure and bravely pushing it to the absolute edge of human experience. Meet the Kazay smart glasses. This is their highly ambitious foray into consumer and enterprise hardware, proving they aren't just a software company, they are a deeply capable full systems integrator. What makes Kazay genuinely revolutionary isn't just the pride of being designed and manufactured in India. It's the astonishing engineering fact that the entire Indic AI stack, speech recognition, real-time translation across 22 languages, and expressive voice synthesis runs entirely on the device itself. The entire software footprint was brilliantly compressed to run in under 1 gigabyte of memory. It requires absolutely no paired smartphone in your pocket and zero cloud connectivity, completely bypassing the frustrating latency and deep privacy issues that plague nearly all their international competitors.
To truly understand the profound human impact of this on-device localized AI, you have to hear about a deeply emotional use case they shared. They showed a live demonstration of a visually impaired user utilizing the Kazi smart glasses to confidently and independently navigate a chaotic public transit system. Relying entirely on onboard cameras and local air-gapped compute power, the glasses could visually identify an approaching bus, read the specific route info, calculate travel time, and verbally alert the user with a natural voice when their stop was coming up. And because it needs zero internet connection, it works flawlessly in remote rural areas, deep underground metro stations, or anywhere with terrible cell service. It is a stunning example of how sovereign, thoughtfully engineered AI can truly democratize basic accessibility and change everyday human lives for the better.
When you step back, you really begin to see how all these distinct technological layers, the massive air-gapped data centers, the trillion-parameter foundation models, the hyper-efficient coding agents, the voice platforms, the offline hardware, they all perfectly compound to create what Sarvam refers to as the sovereign return on investment. This holistic ecosystem permanently ends the draining data tax, safely keeping valuable Indian proprietary data inside the country. It delivers unmatched order-of-magnitude cost savings that finally make population-scale AI viable for emerging markets. It offers unbreakable air-gapped privacy for critical infrastructure. It seamlessly provides intelligence that is natively aligned with how over 1 billion people actually speak and think every day. Ultimately, it guarantees absolute strategic independence in what is universally recognized as the defining technological era of our time.
So as Sarvam vigorously sprints toward that highly anticipated trillion-parameter milestone, aggressively scaling their domestic Blackwell GPU clusters and expanding their sticky Indus software ecosystem, they are confidently drawing a very clear line in the sand. They are proving to the global tech community that technological sovereignty isn't a reluctant compromise of quality. It's a powerful, necessary catalyst for world-class innovation. By flatly refusing to simply rent their technological future from foreign corporations, they are rapidly building an unstoppable domestic trajectory. Which leaves us with one final, deeply provocative question about this escalating global AI race. By making the difficult, incredibly expensive decision to build the entire launchpad from scratch, rather than just buying a seat on someone else's satellite, will this incredible moonshot ultimately make India the world's most powerful, autonomous, and self-reliant domestic token factory?
Thank you for watching. Knowledge Equity Partners is a multilingual channel where we share the latest and most useful information on artificial intelligence and the fast pace of developments that take place in this field.
If you find our content valuable, please subscribe to Knowledge Equity Partners so you'll get notified about our daily videos. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let's together keep the quest for knowledge always high.